So Liana K did a video today about a couple of controversies swirling around Horizon Forbidden West. One of them is, I guess it's being review bombed because people are saying that Aloy looks like a man. Now that was never my qualms about her looks. I just didn't like the fact that they changed how she looks in the first game. Clearly her face is fatter, and when I did my fat Aloy video, I think I linked to Liana K's video where she basically said, "Oh, it's a mocapping thing. Women's faces look fatter. They'll sculpt that out," and she did some demonstrations. I, in playing the game now that it's out, I was waiting to get to the point that the gameplay reveal showed, so I could see if they just left it as is or if they actually improved something. In the game that I'm playing so far, and I said this in my last video, Aloy does look better than she did in the reveal. I don't know if they didn't, she doesn't look like she did in the first game, and it's only 6 months later. Right, so she does look better, though, than she did in the reveal, especially in the dialogue option scenes. So, it's to the point now, I'm like, wow, she's beautiful. Like, she's talking to some guy that she's getting parts for this armor. And I don't know if it's the outfit she was wearing or what, but she really looked good in this particular, every time she goes and sees this one guy for these contracts to get these parts for this armor. And I'm like, okay, so she does look good. Whatever, but nobody else does. But so anyway, so she's saying, Liana K, okay, I can prove to you that she doesn't look like a man, and that's ridiculous. And she was also, well, anyway, let's get to this part first. So she shows pictures from the previous game to the current game, I guess before they actually fixed it, really. And she shows a picture of Hannah Hextra laying in bed. She's not naked or anything, just laying in bed with a cell phone. And the angle is under her chin. So she's got that fat face. I'm just saying fat, not like obese, but she's got that face that we see Aloy has now. And okay, so basically Liana K is like, see, this first picture is how Hannah looked when she did the first game. She's a young girl, whatever, and this is how she looked, and that's how they modeled her. And now, this picture that now Aloy looks like this in Forbidden West because this is how Hannah Huckstra looks, the actress model who they, modeled Aloy out. So she's like, Hannah's grown, she's grown up, so she's not the little kid anymore, basically. And so Aloy has grown up too, to reflect the way Hannah looks now. Then Liana goes, Hannah's 35 years old, so yeah, she's like 35 years old now. So I'm like, wait a minute. As George would say in Seinfeld, back it up, beep, beep, beep. Okay, what? 35? I had no idea she was 35. I follow Hannah Hoekstra on Instagram, but she doesn't post a lot. I don't think she had some pictures when I followed her when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, but I don't see anything from her now. She's not active at all. She blocked me on Instagram, banned her after they saw the game reveal, and they was like, nah, we're not having this, and they just blocked her. Maybe that's what happened. They deactivated her account. But anyway, so she was like, and she didn't say, she was just like, yeah, she's 35, but she went on talking about, yeah, so it's not really an agenda. They made her look like she looks in, like she looks now, but Hannah is 35 now, but Aloy is only like 18, 19. Like, it is only 6 months. Now I understand because they made the game for PS5 or whatever, right? Like, we gotta re-mocap everything. We've improved the engine. We've updated the engine, so we're gonna mocap everybody. So we're gonna redo your face again, Hannah. Get over here. And then and Hannah's like, well, I'm 31 now. I've had a kid or something. I don't know. I like food, whatever. And it's not like she's fat or obese or anything. It's just her face is fuller. It is filled out more. So, okay, sure, you use her face, you do the mocap, you enter her face in again, but they're using the same engine that your boy Kojima used for Death Stranding in Amelie. So Amelie, Lindsay Wagner is, an old lady right now. She don't look bad for an old lady, but she's an old lady. But that didn't stop Kojima from going, we're scanning you, and then we're going to make you look like you looked when you were like 20 something in the 70s. She was fucking gorgeous. Well, you know that if you look at Amelie now, she's beautiful, gorgeous. So why don't you just say, well, whatever information we need for this new mocap, we're going to do it. And then we're just going to make you look like, keep the look consistent. And I believe that, I know that it's because, well, I think that there was a point when the first game came out where people complained about her look. And I think they basically complained that she looked too good. Like her hair shouldn't look like that if she's living in this, indigenous tribal society, whatever. I don't know. I remember some comment, and I probably should have researched this, but I don't care that much, But I'm really only mentioning it because basically Liana K sort of just brushed it off and said, even if she does look worse, even if you do think she looks like a man, so what? So what? What do you mean, so what? We don't want Aloy to look like a man. Now, I don't think she does look like a man. I don't think that was ever an issue. And I talked about that in my Fat Aloy video where trans people need to stay out of this. I know Jim Sterling did a video, and I was, somebody mentioned it in my previous video in the comments. And I was thinking about maybe I'll watch it just to see. But I kind of don't want to hear it. I'm done with Jim Sterling. I was done with Jim Sterling. It had nothing to do with the trans stuff. I was done with Jim Sterling before that. Actually, because, well, I'm not going to get into it. But it has something to do with just this dismissive attitude towards Death Stranding. It was like, but I'm not going to make insults about this person. But I made these insults before they turned trans. It was more about, weight stuff. But anyway, you beep, beep. Forget you. I'm not wasting my time with you. So I'm tired of just like this dumb, low-level nonsense. And I appreciate a lot of Sterling's consumer videos where they're like protecting consumers and stuff like that, and being concerned for consumers. But sometimes she can be really dismissive about anything outside of the norm for video games. If it's just a little bit different, it's just constantly calling it pretentious. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. Anyway, enough of Sterling. I might watch that video so I can comment on it, but I don't think I feel like hearing it, but there's a concern I have beyond this agenda thing, or it's probably a part of the agenda, where we're letting people with body dysmorphia and mental health issues set standards and practices for everybody else. So when somebody says, I don't like the way Aloy looks now, she looks like a man, we have people who are trans or gay or whatever jump up and attack and get upset and get angry and make it about them, when it's like, hey, look, this person's orientation is that they're straight. They're telling you, because this person looks like a man, I don't find them attractive. And it's not like, oh, I want to screw this, have sex with this fake character. But it's like, I don't want to look at this character because I know why you made them look like this, and I'm not interested in this. They make this thing where it's like I said in the Fat Aloy video, where it's like, you can't define a woman by whether or not she's attractive or not. Women have more value than it looks. And it's like, nobody is arguing that, and nobody gives a shit. If I'm saying Aloy looks ugly now, it has nothing to do with Aloy as a human being or what she's doing. It's an opinion. A person can say, this is what I feel. And you can take it or leave it. You can love it or lump it. It's not going to affect anybody. Like, I don't care if like Aloy was like, oh, why do you think I'm fat? Like, it has nothing to do with anything. That's just this person's opinion. So the big problem with it is that when people respond and say things like, oh, you just want to whack off to these characters like Jaffe or, Sphere Hunter going, you nerd, Go get bitches in real life. Stop playing video games to get bitches in real life. And it's like, I really was annoyed with the Spear Hunter thing because she is constantly slobbering over girls in the looks of the characters, the female characters in her videos. And I have no problem with that. Like, I always thought it was cool that she's like, yeah, this girl is hot and I want to make a hot character. She even said, I watched her Elden Ring review the other day. And she even said, the first thing she said was, I'm so glad that the, From Software listened to us and they gave us, I'm not going to do her voice, but anyway, and they gave us a character creator so we can make cute characters. And she's like, that's right, everybody, go make your waifu or whatever. And it's like, why is that fine to say? But if somebody says, I don't like how they made Aloy look now, all of a sudden it's like, you nerd, go get bitches in real life. They're not talking about that. They're talking about you are imposing something in a game that I want to play for no other reason than you think there's something wrong with it being the other way. So you've made a character ugly because if it's pretty, you're saying there's a problem with that. You're saying that if I like to play a game and like a pretty character, there is something deeply wrong with me as a human being. That me wanting to look at this character, and it's not like, and again, like Jaffe kept saying it, you want to go whack off to a character, you just go on the internet. They always say that when people was complaining about Miranda's rump being cut out. Well, it wasn't actually cut off her body, but when they cut the shot of her juicy ass from that scene in Mass Effect 2, everybody was like, you got the internet where you can go whack off and things. So it's like, this is all disingenuous. You know why people are complaining. You're making a change that isn't a big deal. And so, to get back to Liana K. Well, actually, this is part of what I'm answering something that Liana K was basically suggesting. Like she was saying, what's the big deal? So what if she looks ugly now? So what if she does look like a man? Like, what's the big deal? Let's play the game. And then I stopped watching it when she started to say, if this was real, her face would be leathery. She'd be blah, blah, blah. Mold would be in her hair from the rain because, the way her braids are, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, fine. I don't want to hear that. This is fake. I don't want to hear this stuff. I don't care. It's fiction. You're being transported to another world. Why this is so hard to accept has nothing to do with the fact that it's just unreasonable and that you're crazy. They love to say gaslighting, but they gaslight all the time. I'm talking about SJWs. Liana K is not SJW, and I'm not really lumping her in. I'm just really taking the fact that she was like, oh, who cares? So what? It's not a big deal. And for her, it's more, there's other fights to have regarding the culture war. This isn't that big of a deal, because I think as far as feminists go, I'm more aligned with her, Liana K, than I am somebody like Arnita Sarkeesian. Did I call her Arnita? Anita Sarkeesian, who's just a clown, a complete imposter, fake. A lot of these people are, though. People who have the nerve to give their opinions on comic books, give their opinions on games, give their opinions on anime or whatever, who are constantly trying to find the worst in everything. And then, because they don't like it, if they're lesbian or if they hate men and the male gaze, and they just hate the idea that a guy can look at a woman and say, oh, she's hot, and that they're worried about some fictional fat ass woman somewhere who's like, I just picture some chick sitting in the bed crying. There's some man out there, there's a gamer out there who like Miranda Lawson's ass and he won't take me out. And so, that's one thing that they say, that's why there's a problem with attractive characters in any kind of fiction. The other thing is literally that seeing a hot chick in a video game makes a man go, yes, I'm supposed to be catered to. So I'm going to go out into the real world and treat women like video game characters. There's all kinds of shit in real life going on. But this is nothing but reefer madness. This is exactly this kind of moral panic shit that the Christian right does when they say, anything that we don't agree with is poisoning the mind of the youth and everybody and making them go bad. So, again, like I said, people literally said when people were complaining about Miranda Lawson being edited out or whatever, that because that scene harms women. How in the hell does it harm women? She's not even a real woman. So anyway, to get back to it. So Liana K was like kind of dismissive of it, and it was annoying. So I stopped watching the video. But then, I was like, I'm going to do a video on it and just kind of talk about it. You might hear me clicking something. I'm trying to click something now. Let me make sure this is the start again. Okay, cool. So I went to the video again, and I was looking to see what people in the comments were saying. Because she actually touched on two different things, two different controversies. The first one was, like I said, the how she looks. And she basically said, oh, this is how Hannah Huckster looks. So they just did that. But like I said, they could have changed that. They don't have to make her look like a 30-something-year-old woman. She's a kid still, or, well, she's a teenage girl. And let's keep her looking like she did. They didn't do that, though, because they knew people had already complained about how she looked in the first place, for whatever reason. And now, this atmosphere, everybody wants to be an SJW for some reason. And I guess it's because nobody wants to be called the no good shit. Nobody wants to be looked at as somebody who has bad morals, who's a pervert. This is one of the first things they always say when somebody goes, God, Aloy's fat and ugly now. Oh, you want to go whack off? Why don't you go whack off to the porn? Yeah. It's like, when I play, Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, I just admire her beauty. I was like, oh, she's pretty. And, put a little crown on her head. Say, yeah, that fits her face. I like the angles of her jawline, whatever. Like I said, one thing I was wrong about, though, because I was like I said, she was not sexualized. And I hate that term, sexualized. People find people sexy or not. Basically, it's not sexualized. It's desexualized. That's what they want to do. They pretend that there's no difference between genders. So they just act like, and they just do it when it comes to men. They act like when a woman comes into a room, nobody's checking her out. Unless a video game character has a close-up of her butt. Then all of a sudden, a man goes, you know what? Women have butts. When I go out in the real world, I'm going to look at them and demand what? A close-up of their butt. It's nonsense. It's overstating harm. It's disingenuous. And it's really just to control what people see. They just want to prop up they always talk about how men ain't shit and they're low value and all this stuff. But they absolutely care what men think about their looks. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't worry about. You would think they would be happy that men would just be spending time playing their video games with the attractive characters on there and leaving them alone. But that's not the case. So anyway, so she was like, what's the big deal? Now, apparently, after, I don't remember her saying this when I watched the video. After I stopped watching her, she must have said at some point, what is the thing that is really bothering you here? And I'm quoting from this dude, I think his name is Dwarven Hubble, the commenter. This is a huge comment. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing. But he basically said, it's the strange perception going on in a lot of media that it has to tone down female characters due to modern sensibilities. It's not just Mass Effect Andromeda, because she mentioned how people were saying it's an agenda. And that they're wrong because it's not a trend or an agenda when it's just two games. Mass Effect Andromeda, where clearly they messed up the model for Riley, the female Riley, in that game, and The Last of Us Part 2. Where, I don't think, I don't know about Abby. Abby's face is fine. She's got a cute face. She kind of looks like Ellie. But it was her body type, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Which, in and of itself, that's not a problem either. I was actually, down for it, I feel bad now saying this, but I was down for Abby because I thought she was Ellie's mom. I thought this was going to be a flashback story with her becoming like, and I just made her super strong. I was like, I don't know, that's gonna be weird seeing this woman pregnant, but I was down for her in that. I didn't care. People in Liana K makes this point too. People hate Abby not because of her looks. They attack her for her looks now because they know why it was done, but they hate Abby because she killed Joel. And then you're forced to play as her. I would like, even if she killed Joel, I would hate her, but I wouldn't hate the game if they didn't make you play as her. I'd be pissed. But I'd be like, okay, I'll play the game, and Ellie gets revenge, great. But no, whatever. So anyway, he says it's not just Mass Effect Andromeda and The Last of Us Part 2. It's seemingly going across more pieces of media with as another example, the classic costumes for the Square Enix published Guardians of the Galaxy game. Having Gamora's costume being changed from somewhat of almost a female version of the Borat mankini, to a full covering bodysuit that had no cleavage on show at all. And yes, I can see arguments for changing the costume, but there have been other costumes that were seemingly inspired by that first costume that have been more modest but not going full bodysuit. Take Doctor Who, that kind of had a fair thing for quite glamorous female assistants with Rose, Martha, the baddies, and Amy. Yeah, Amy's just annoying. Amy had this thing where whenever the doctor would say something to her, she made it sound like he asked her for a blowjob. So the doctor would say something like, yes, it's a time trap. And she'd go, a time trap? Like, you want a blowjob? What? Is that what you said to me? I don't know. Amy was annoying. But the actress was pretty. But anyway, Amy and even Clara to a point, especially in early appearances. And while I won't say the actress playing Yaz is unattractive, they've very much work to make her seem less glamorous and appealing, and the same with Bill before you. Bill, never mind. I'm not gonna do that. Nothing about that. So maybe I will read the whole thing. It's not that long. It's the perception of cultural shift happening somewhat such that anything being deemed to appeal to men too much is being seen as bad, and to be avoided at least by Western companies and creators as some great cosmic balancing of the scales, because all these things appeal to men and cater to them, so now they must appeal to women more specifically and for as long. And then he says, by appeal to women, they mean basically don't change male characters women find attractive, and in some cases come up with more reasons for them to be less clothed, while trying to make sure female characters don't show any cleavage and as little skin above the ankle to the waist as possible, too. That's the big problem that I have with the SJWs, period. SJWs don't want to create equality. They don't give a shit about diversity. They just want to turn the tables on their enemies, and they've just created enemies. They've taken nerds who are sitting around, just say there's a bunch of guys sitting around a room reading George Perez Teen Titan comics, and you see Starfire in her original costume bursting out in all her golden glory, and some woman walks by, some lesbian, wouldn't see why a lesbian would be upset by this, but let's just say a fake feminist lesbian walks by, looks over the shoulder of the man, sees Starfire, and then goes, "This is awful, you dirty bastards. You're a misogynist because you're looking at this picture of this attractive woman. You need to stop. I'm calling the police." I don't understand it. Really don't understand why there are people who are allowed to set standards and practices for people who have nothing to do with them, who are not related to them, who are not going over there and messing with them. If you're enjoying Mass Effect and you say, "Hey, this girl's hot," who's that bothering but people who are going, "Stop sexualizing women"? Like the people who are complaining about Quiet and saying, "Oh, she's a sniper. That's not practical." Of course it's not practical. It looks good. This is fiction, you idiot. She's got superpowers. She don't need to wear clothes. And the thing is, I wish Kojima didn't even try to BS explain it away by saying, "Oh, when you play the game, you'll see that she needs to wear less clothes because she breathes through her skin or something." Who gives a shit? She's hot. That's why I did it. See, this is why your boy Yoko Taro, people don't fuck with him. Because They straight up try to be like, 2B, why is 2B dressed that way? Like some guy was, I think I told this story before in an earlier video. There was some clown on, I think it was GameSpot. So one woman who actually looks like Aloy, the woman who I'm thinking of. Everybody hates her. She was the one who gave that stupid review of Days Gone. And she was the one who did the too much water. Forgot her name. But I remember one time she was her and two other dudes who worked for whatever was GameSpot, whatever this girl worked at. And he said, the guy said this when they were talking about Nier Automata. He goes, do we know why she's dressed like that? With that dress, and you can see under her, her skirt. And the other guy goes, yeah, Yoko Taro said that he did it because she's hot and he likes hot girls. And the chick whose name, maybe I should look for her name. She goes, oh, I'm so glad he said that because I'm a cosplay as her. And I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. Because she's not a bad looking woman, but I can't, my laptop's not working. It's acting stupid. So I don't want to be on here forever. I wanted to do an actual early impressions video because I was all over the place in my last video, and I didn't actually do the early impressions. I talked about a few things, but I want to do an early impressions. I've done 30 hours of the game, and let's see, I did 30 hours of the game, even though I don't feel like I've done anything. I'm up to level 23, and yeah, I won't say anything else. I think I'll save that for another video, so I won't be bouncing around all over the place. So, yeah, I appreciated this Dwarven Hobble's comment because there's a lot of people on here commenting on her video who were like just going along with her, where she's basically, like I said, she basically just dismissed it. She said, you're all wrong. It's not, she doesn't look manly, which actually I do agree with that. But the part where she's like, there's no agenda. And there's clearly an agenda when you look at Marvel Comics for the past 10, well, not 10 years, but since I guess 2014, 2015, how they were making Captain Marvel look like your boy from Clerks. Jay and something about Jay. She was looking like Jay. They drew her to look like Jay. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? There's clearly, like, they get mad. They literally say George Perez is an old-fashioned artist. Because, and I know they say it because of his women. He drew sexy ass women. Speaking of that, I actually plunked down a bunch of money, which maybe I should have waited, on the Absolute Wonder Woman edition. Yeah, he drew sexy ass Amazons. Now, when you look at like Nubia and the Amazons, they're all a bunch of dumpy, frumpy hags. And the ones who are supposedly so beautiful, amazing like Nubia actually do look like men. They look men with long hair. And this has nothing to do with trans people, like I said before. This is just about what your orientation is. It's not a preference. Like, we don't have a preference. Like, people get mad and they go, I forgot who they would get mad at. Some guy a couple of years ago didn't kiss a trans woman, some singer. He kept trying to kiss her, or she kept trying to kiss him. And he was like, no. And people on Twitter were trying to complain, saying, why wouldn't he kiss her? What's wrong? And it's like, it's his orientation. Is he straight? So it doesn't matter if this trans woman is, saying she's a woman. You could say, all right, socially, I'm going to be polite and I'm going to say you're a woman. And I don't know what your issue is. I don't know if it's body dysmorphia. I don't know if it's chemical. I don't know if it's spiritual. What, if you reincarnated and that's what things are, I don't know. But to me, you're still in a male body. So I'm not going to force myself to play this game with you. You are allowed to exist without harm. But I mean, you're not owed anything from me. I don't owe you a kiss. I don't owe you attraction. I don't owe, like writing a damn, I'm going to say syllabus, but it's not the word. It's not the word. A treatise on, why I think you are a woman and why why I must validate you or whatever. So that's enough. I don't want to stay too long on this anymore. She talked about the other controversy, but I think I'll save that for another video. Because I'm really worried that the cops are going to start riding around the neighborhood since they know I'm recording. Take care.